Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shubhendu Parth, editor of Voice&Data. So we're starting 2 minutes early by the time other guests join in. So on behalf of the publication and the Cyber Media Group, I welcome you all to the first Voice&Data dialogue. This is the first of the series of the webinars we plan to hold during the year. I also welcome our esteemed guests, industry experts, and veterans who have joined today to kickstart the webinar series. Beginning today, we plan to host it on the last Wednesday of each month. So please mark it on your calendars and join us every last Wednesday of each month, going hence today. Today we have with us esteemed guests and speakers, Mr. Jaideep Ghosh, who's the management consultant and former partner, KPMG in India. Welcome, Jaideep. We also have with us Mr. Salil Khanna. He's the national head for enterprise and government business with Reliance Jio. Welcome, Sunil. We have with us Dr. Sidharth Shukla, who is the AVP and head for emerging technologies with Bharti Airtel. Welcome, Dr. Shukla.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Sunil David. Is the digital technology consultant and former regional director heading IoT operations in India and ASEAN region for AT&T. And far away, joining from Finland is Mr. Pekka Rantala. He's the head of the 6G bridge program of Business Finland, which is part of the Ministry of Employment and Economy. Welcome you all. When we announced the webinar, actually I was asked by a few people in the industry why Voice&Data was switching back to the online platform, which has kind of become so synonymous with the COVID and the lockdown era. I'll reiterate what I told my industry friends, but let me give you the context. As you know, India's telecom sector has undergone a remarkable journey, evolving over the past 3 decades. And if we look at this journey, right from India's first telecoms policy in 1994 to 2024, where now we are looking at a massive 5G rollout already underway, we can categorize this journey into 5 phases. Phase 1, which was from scarcity to saturation. This was the pre-1990s, when the landline was a luxury and mobile phone was nowhere in our dreams. Phase 2, this was the wind of change, with economic liberalization that marked the turning point in the late 1990s. Privatization and foreign investment led to fierce competition and a surge in mobile phone subscriptions and service providers. Then we moved to phase 3, which was the kind of affordability boom, when the price war between operators that we had, multiple operator telecom service providers in India, made mobile services accessible to the masses. Then comes the phase 4, rise of the data giants. This is the most recent recent phase, which saw the emergence of data-driven players like Jio, which offered dirt cheap internet access. This actually transformed India into the world's second largest internet user base. Now, I would say the phase 5 or the 5G phase, the present, as we enter the truly digital era, with India moving towards becoming the mobile-first nation. What this means is mobile shopping, mobile banking, mobile-based entertainment, governance, and everything that can be thought of through handheld devices. Voice&Data has covered these all meticulously, chronicling the journey and evolution of the telecom sector in India since 1994, from the era of PCO and STD to 5G. This webinar series is the beginning of the celebration of the 30 years of Voice and Data. We'll be completing 30 years in July. And to mark that, we are kickstarting this year webinar series. Well, there is another reason too. During the last 30 years, Voice and Data has ensured that geography does not limit information dissemination. And what better way than to use technology to share information and knowledge with our stakeholders, irrespective of where they are located. And hence, this webinar series, as I mentioned. So welcome you all again. And without taking much more time, I would like to invite Mr. Jaideep Ghosh to share his insight on 5G in India, how it is accelerating connectivity and exploring the frontiers. So over to you, Jaideep, for the keynote address. Welcome again, everybody.
Thank you, Editor of Voice and Data, Shubhendu. We'll go through a quick presentation. My thoughts here is that we have a panel discussion after this. So we will, what we will do or what I will do is to just set the context of where we are in India's 5G journey, because all of us on this webinar today, participants and the speakers are by and large aware, but just to set the context in terms of where once we started the 5G journey in India in later part of 2022, where have we reached today and what is the future that we could kind of expect. So there's a presentation. May I request the presentation to be put on the screen, please? So as I said, if we start from 2022, that's when we had the telecom spectrum auctions for 5G in India. And this is what it is. It happened in July and a little bit of early August 2022, wherein the 5G spectrum across different bands, I'm not getting into details, was done. And by and large, about 1.5 lakh crore Indian rupees, which is about 19 billion US dollars, was committed by the three telecom operators, and also a little bit by Adani Group, to get the spectrum. And then subsequently in October, very soon after that, the regulatory and the approvals, etc., came pretty fast. And subsequently in October, of course, the first launch around Diwali, the launch happened. That's when India launched 5G. A late entrance, because most of the larger countries had launched in 2019, 2020, that kind of period. And from that perspective, we definitely, started late. Ended the year just October, November, December, around, roughly 10, 12 million subscribers of 5G. And subsequently, the ramp up has been very, very fast, in the sense by December of 2023, which is 1 full year, from about 12 million, it went to, around 130 odd million in just 1 year. Between Jan and between October 2022, when it started, December 2022, 12 million, December 2023, about 130 million. I skipped two things in the interim. One was somewhere around August, September, by and large, and I'm giving you industry view, not a telecom operator specific view. The fixed wireless access, or FWA, which was also launched, which was one of the early use cases of 5G beyond the plain mobile usage, high speed use of the 5G. And something major happened in and around, it started quite some time ago, but in December 2023, a new telecom law replacing laws which were from the previous century to 50, 60 years old was replaced and enacted almost in the last week of 2023, which paved the regulation for different things around spectrum auction, licensing, simplified licensing, and various other things, the role of government, the security, etc., etc. So these are things which happened just between January and December 2023. A lot of it happened, from 12 million to about 130 odd million. And somewhere around today, the exact numbers are not there for various reasons, around 180 plus million 5G subscribers minimum are there. And let's remember, this is only Jio and Airtel so far. The third larger private operator is yet to launch 5G. So we should see, a lot of action during this year and the next year to see a ramp up of the 5G subscriber base in India. That is where I think I'll give the picture of how things have evolved over the last 20 odd months. If we go to our next slide, there we will see, I'll show some statistics and some numbers, how it has kind of panned out. As I said, from getting from 0 to 130 to 200 odd million right now is not an easy job. It's a large country, large geography. So network was deployed in record time in billions of dollars beyond what was committed in the spectrum auction, which I said was what, $19 billion, 1.54 lakh crore. Not that everything had to be paid on day one. It's paid over a period of about 20 years. There are different models. I'm not getting into that. So based on that, the growth has been high, as you can see on this chart. The lighter blue is 4G, which is what we had pretty much till 2022. But now, as we speak, the 5G has grown, and as I said, we ended 2023. These are all calendar years, around 131 million, and the projection is to go to about 700 million in 2028, in about 3-4 years from now. While I'm of course, patting all our back, just a comparative number for a country which has got similar population, China, but similar population profile right now. China has got at least 850 million or 5G subscribers. How many of them are actually using it? That's a different story. And they expect it to go beyond 1 billion, and which is about 50% of their penetration, because China also has about 1.75 billion mobile connections. It's a larger scale. So that's the reason I'm saying is not to undermine our situation or, more than appreciate a neighboring country with similar population, but just to say that's the kind of potential that is there for 5G just in the consumer market. People like you and me and all of us to go to those kind of penetration levels in terms of both access to telecom as well as the subscribers for 5G, and then we'll see what happens subsequently. The next slide, if you please go there, we'll see some more numbers around growth. This is also, as we will see, base stations. Again simplifying it. Right now, of course, any mobile services will need base stations, etc., tower infrastructure. That was deployed at a rapid speed. In January, 5G base stations, January 2023, was about 54,000, and by December 2023, it was about 400,000 plus, 4 lakh plus 5G base stations were deployed in 1 year, about 8 times in 1 year. Easier said than done. Again, let's think of the geographical scale of the country and where all it had to. So all full marks to all the telecom ecosystem, the service providers, and of course all the infrastructure players and many other myriad participants who made this happen. That's again another parameter in terms of the growth ramp up, which is amongst the fastest rollout of 5G anywhere globally. But that's how it has been, in India's telecom and many other domains. The ramp up is fast. Let's go to a next slide, please. There again, we'll see the kind of, usage or the, the growth parameters that is there. And, this again, this is in terms of the smartphones. Again, the story is same. India's 5G smartphone shipment has been growing at a high rate. I may or may not read from these slides, but as you can see, the deeper blue is the 5G smartphones, which was around 8,000 million units, for smartphone, about from 80 to 134 million units in kind of 1 year, or 60-odd%, 66%, etc. That's the kind of growth. Because to access 5G, we need devices. Other point here, which is the growth of the affordable 5G capable smartphones. One thing we have seen in last couple of years is the premiumization of devices. The growth of the devices above rupees 30,000 has been spectacular comparatively to the growth in the below 30,000 or below 20,000 rupees per smartphone, because as affluence increases and those many factors which I'm not touching on right now. But in recent months, as of Q1 calendar, I'm using calendar year and not Indian financial year here, because we have participants and audience from outside India. In this Q1, Jan, Feb, March, we are again seeing in India's shipment the smartphone in the $150 kind of a range, $150, $200. That's again showing a encouraging growth in volume terms. Value terms, of course, it will always be the top smartphone, Jazz, Apple, Samsung, etc. But that's what it is. The point here is that how will 5G ramp up and adoption increase? Availability of affordable devices. So that's also happening, and as much as network has grown, towers, BTS, etc. has grown, the subscribers are also growing, aided by affordable devices. Let's go to the next slide, please. Again, we'll see the kind of usage of data. Now on the left hand side, top very familiar slide. That's the data keeps on changing year on year a little bit, but that's the kind of data track Indian mobile users are kind of consuming each month. So this is average monthly data traffic on mobile per user. So it's about in the range of 24 GB. This is per month. Not everybody is using, but somebody uses more and somebody uses less. That's why it is somewhere around that. It's been growing at some more than 20% CAGR in the 5 years, making India one of the highest mobile data consumers. Which point here is again the data consumption is high, and I'll summarize everything in a few bullet points in a very, very short time. And again, on the right-hand side, you will see the 5G traffic. Naturally, as 5G subscription is growing, users are using 5G subscription, 5G users, traffic is also growing. It's about, 2023, it was about 15%. This year, I understand it's already, and again, it's an industry view. It's ranging 25 to 30% right now. But some telecom service provider or a digital service provider, as I think is the currently one is used to calling the earlier telecom operator, their proportion of 5G traffic will be more, somebody will be less, and we will have at least one operator launching 5G this year. So we'll see how that pans out in metros. Of course, as we can see on the right-hand side bottom, 5G market, 5G's traffic share is gone already in 20%. Remember, all this is in just about 20 months. We started late 2022 October. More of a launch around Diwali, and now we are kind of serious business. The 5G median download speed on the left hand side of the screen will also see is about almost 18 times more than 4G. I think about 300 plus Mbps versus around 20 odd Mbps. And one thing which has for the consumers, not for the businesses, is one thing which has changed is how we watch videos, courtesy all the OTT platforms that we have. That's been one driver in more recent years. Otherwise, of course, it's gaming and movies and other sports, etc. That's how it has been. Again, this is a growth slide. Let's go to the next one, please. So we'll kind of not. This is the FWA, and if you remember, I mentioned somewhere around 8-10 months ago, fixed wireless access was launched using 5G. The basic, in case anybody in the audience is not very clear, how does this work? This is usually, not necessarily always, but usually it is deployed in areas where having a wired fiber connectivity could be difficult or it is not yet there. Hence, those customer premises, it could be residential, it could be small businesses, they could use fixed wireless access using 5G, which is used to power in the sense, provide access, broadband access to various devices and things like that. So as we can see, 5G users on an average on the left-hand side use more than up to kind of 3.5 times more data compared to 4G users. This is industry-wide average. Not every user will do that kind of thing. And FWA, which is the fixed wireless, those users in the last 6, 7, 10 months seem to be already using much more, 2.5x around or up to that, compared to normal 5G users, and almost 30% more than an average fiber user. So if I have a fiber at my home, which I have, through which I'm joining this webinar, I may use X, and a FWA user looks like is using currently 1.3x at an industry level. That's how it is. It's also important to note that this is also boosted the 5G's presence beyond the plain mobility services, and also offers monetization returns, a monetization opportunity for the service provider. Here, I'll kind of say one thing. Now, the story which I've said so far is that we started late, ramp up has been fast, data usage growing, FWA very good, everything is growing. What is not growing is the question. Is it everything, absolutely gold-plated? What is not growing or not growing as one would have wished is that all of us, most of us, we are not really willing to pay much more for the high speed that 5G is giving. There is no appreciable revenue that's getting generated just because I switched or upgraded from 4G to 5G, whereas billions of dollars has been committed for spectrum and has been committed or invested in the in the network and in other expenses, marketing, general operating expenses. So that proportional revenue is not coming for the service providers and the ecosystem. Besides that, the other challenge so far seems like that while 5G is the first, to my mind, ground up, system or access system made for the enterprise, the corporate, the broadly speaking, B2B, large businesses, medium businesses, that segment also is kind of, not yet there. It's not an India phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. It's been slow. So these are few things which we will discuss in the panel, and that's why I wanted to come here and mention. At a high level, there are 4 horizons which researchers say in which 5G will progress, which I will show you in the next slide, please. The first one, the slide will come. The first one is that, we had 4G, but now this is, 5G, so higher speed, and we kind of, have, that's bottom of that pie. It's the first horizon. It's basically, we have an efficient version of, superior version, higher speed version of 4G, which is 5G, higher speed. It's also efficient, it consumes less energy, etc. So enhanced mobile broadband, that has got many usages. I'm not getting into that right now. We will discuss all that in the panel just after this. The second horizon is where we are seeing traction now, fixed wireless access, access which has started. That's another opportunity which is happening in India. That's happening, in many other countries. The third horizon, which is all there, but not yet in any appreciable way, is a differentiated connectivity solution opportunity. Those things will take some time, which could mean, private networks. Now, again, I don't want to go there, but there are some regulatory clarity also awaited, I would think so, or maybe it's required at some point of time. In terms of large users, could take spectrum directly, from the government and run their private network. All those things are something which the movement has been negligible to nothing so far. Those are things, network slicing, etc., which will take some time. It's all happening, but will take some time. The third horizon. Fourth is a comprehensive stitching together of solution, because it's not a telecom operator game. It is only, and telecom operators are also digital services providers. They are not the erstwhile telecom operators. It's a game which will need system integrators, consulting companies, and infrastructure players, everybody to stitch together something, and then, very high performance network. That's something which will take a while to happen. We'll know much more from the, the esteemed my co-panel members in a while. So I'll conclude by just, this is what are the things we can expect starting from next week to kind of, next few months, and then in the longer term. Let's go to the next slide, please. Next week, as in June 6th, if I remember, the spectrum auction is scheduled by the, government of India, which will again, make a lot of spectrum available. The base price of all the spectrum that is available is in the range of 96,300 odd crore Indian rupees. Nobody's expecting the entire thing to be bid for, but possibly, something in much lesser, but still spectrum will be available. That's starting next week. We are expecting BSNL, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, which is a government-backed operator, and one point of time the leading and sole operator for those who are less familiar with India. They're expected to launch 4G, which is something way behind what others are. But never mind. It's also the important thing is that's an India stack. So there are largely India-made technology which is getting launched. We would expect. Remember, I mentioned about the telecom law somewhere around December, but the rules for various things in the law, spectrum allocation, administrative approvals, security, role of government, etc., etc. Those are expected. It is told it will be 100 days after the new Indian government takes charge next month, but I think it should go up till later part of this calendar year. Could go to little later also. We'll see. Somewhere during this year, quarter 3, quarter 2024, this whole calendar, I would expect Vodafone Idea, which has just raised about 18,000 crores, more than $2 billion US dollars in their follow-on public offer, plus anchor investors, another 800 odd million, plus more are on the anvil. They ought to launch 5G way behind others, but find the global names, large names, one point of time amongst the top leaders. But we would expect them to, get into the 5G action sooner. We're expecting satellite communication services, another entire ballgame, which I'm not getting into. There are issues there on many. That should get launched sometime this year. One is expecting. India Stack, which already at least one of our India participants has, started in some way in African continent in some way. The India Stack, as I said, BSNL is going to launch with India Stack, and this should go also internationally in a small way now, but someday. And then beyond 5G, what? I don't know. None of us would know, but some of us may know the better idea. Somewhere, understanding is in next 5 to 6 years, we'll see 6G commercial rollout in the world, but that's quite some time for now. So till then, we ought to stick with 5G and what more can be done. Focusing more on the business perspective, the business customer perspective, the enterprise customer perspective for this particular session. With this, I hand it over back to editor Mr. Parth, and thank you everybody for your attention.
Thank you, Jaideep. Thank you for the insightful keynote and taking us through the journey from the 5G journey, basically from 2022 till Q1 2024, and also some bit of crystal ball glazing in terms of what we can expect. This has very well set up the tone for today's panel discussion on unlocking the business potential with 5G, a key concern area that you mentioned. And I'm happy that the discussion will be chaired and moderated by you. The speakers for the panel are Dr. Mr. Salil Khanna. Welcome, sir, again. Dr. Sidharth Shukla, welcome back. And Mr. Sunil David. And over to you, Jaideep, to take this forward. Just one request to all speakers, please keep your answers short and keep the ball rolling. And of course, the attendees may have a lot of questions. I do have some questions. We'll take all the questions at the end of the final presentation by Mr. Pekka Rantala. And so whatever questions you have, please send it on chat windows and we will be taking that. Over to you, Jaideep, to take the discussion forward and to the
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've spoken a lot, so I'll keep it straight. We'll go to the panel members. But as I said, 5G, the growth has been high. Investments have been high. Everything, infrastructure growth has been high. However, it looks like it's a bit difficult to add a lot of revenue for the industry merely by offering 5G, and things are happening. And what's happening? What is the near-term future for that? Let me start with Sunil, with you. Perhaps you could, for benefit of all of us, including me and all attendees, kind of portray a quick picture of where you are seeing the enterprise segment, in the 5G context. As Mr. Parth said, keep the answers a little bit shorter so that we can have a good discussion. But go ahead, an overview of where you see things are.
Thank you, Jaideep, for that question. And the outset, I would like to thank the Voice and Data team, including Shubhendu, for inviting me to be part of this panel. So if you just look at the global picture, Jaideep, the 5G being part of an overall solution when you look at digital transformation, globally, various organizations are at various stages when it comes to adoption of digital technologies. Of course, you need 5G networks or any high-speed connectivity network to really power these applications. But overall, from a global standpoint, I would say that based on people have been speaking to and the research they have done, adoption among businesses is still on the lower side. Because when you look at investments that are needing to go into any digital transformation initiative, a lot of the investments are going into AI, cloud. We are not seeing too much of investment on the 5G side. But what we're clearly seeing, Jaideep, is that amongst industries that are deploying 5G, manufacturing has definitely taken a lead. As per some research, more than 30% of companies, as per a survey, are manufacturing companies who are wanting to deploy 5G networks. And when you're looking at 5G again, what we're clearly seeing is that the need to deploy private 5G networks using their own spectrum and managing the whole infrastructure. I just wanted to take one example of a study done by Global Mobile Suppliers Association, a global body. And when they did the study, they found that of the 1,000-odd enterprises that have deployed private 5G, 163 are in the US. So the bulk of the deployment has been in the US. And India's somewhere less than 20. Very few in India have started to pilot some of these private 5G use cases, especially manufacturers. That's one. Second thing, what is also very clear is that the automotive segment has taken a lead. A lot of the large auto giants are deploying private 5G. I just want to give some examples. For example, BMW, they are deploying a private 5G network in their Landshut facility in Bavaria for a autonomous forklift use case where they are using private 5G network and using 5G to remotely monitor these autonomous robots. I wanted to give the example of Cummins in one of the factories in the US for various use cases, machine data acquisition, autonomous mobile robots, quality-related use cases. They have been partnering with Verizon to build that. And what is also very clearly emerging is that the need for the telco operators to also work with the other key stakeholders from an ecosystem standpoint. For example, Nokia has been partnering with AT&T and Verizon. Nokia built a solution called Digital Automation for Campus. It's a platform that can integrate with any existing infrastructure. It could be Wi-Fi, LTE, and so on. So the need for the service provider to really partner very closely with a Nokia and Ericsson, or even with the system integrator, is becoming very, very clear. Because the one question which any enterprise is asking is that what is the value that I'm going to get from my 5G investment? What are the key business outcomes that I'm going to achieve? And hence, it might be challenging for the telecom operators to do this on their own. And hence, the need for them to play that role of an ecosystem orchestrator where they can work with the other stakeholders and make sure that delivering a solution which is really delivering value to the customer. So overall, Jaideep, I just want to submit that while India has been lagging behind when it comes to adoption of 5G, the situation outside India is no worse. So there's still a long way to go when you look at adoption of 5G amongst large enterprises outside of India.
Thank you. So that's what you gave a good overview, and as well as some examples in different countries. I'll come to Salil right now, and then Dr. Sidharth, I'll come to you after that around some regulatory aspects to start with. Salil, I mean, you and I think discussed this a couple of months ago also, but most others were not there. So I'll really ask you or discuss something similar, carrying on from where Sunil mentioned. Whatever he said, value, outcome. How are you? I'll keep it very broad because you are handling it for one of the large service providers in India. How are you seeing the market right now? And what are your key learnings if you want to share with all of us on this webinar, please?
Yeah, so Jaideep, thanks a lot, and thanks to all the panel members, Voice and Data, for organizing this. I think as I have been repeating myself in many other forums also. So 5G, phenomenal work done by India as a country in rolling out this network, 5G network in this large country in almost 1 year plus, which has never happened anywhere in the world, and to cover the entire country and to see the subscribers grow, to see the subscriber usage grow is really a very, very heartening sign. Now, at this point, I would like to just take the panel back to the basic question. You see, 5G, while we talk of 5G, but 5G has been deployed in India in two methods. One is a non-standalone networks, which most of the other operators went, and one is the standalone network on 5G, for which the Jio went. Obviously, it was the more costlier option. And, there was questions asked that whether NSA is right for India, whether SA is right for India. But I think as time is progressing, we are clearly seeing the differences and the benefits which a SA-based network would bring to the users. Users both at the consumer side, at the business side, government side, or in the FWA rollout. So, Jaideep, you shared certain examples that, while the mobile data consumption in India today is 24 GB per month per subscriber. And in 5G, we are seeing, a multiple X of that. But let me take, to a new statistics. You see, for the consumer side, you said that there are 180 million subscribers, right? But there is no incremental revenue which is getting created just because a consumer is using a 5G based handset and is consuming 5G data. The incremental revenue is not coming because at the consumer level, really the experience difference between the 4G and 5G is not much, for which the customer will kind of shell out more money. But let's take the argument now to the FWA rollout. Now, FWA rollout is very, very important for India. It opens up another line of business. It propels India to a faster, penetration of home broadband, which henceforth was limited to the fiber rollout. And what was fiber rollout? It was almost 100 cities. If you take out Jio for other operators, almost 100 cities, people had a FTTH or a fiber to the home network. Jio tried to take it to 1,000 cities, while our network rollout is still happening. And we took a fiber-based home broadband services to 1,000 cities in India. Suddenly, this 5G came. We invested into a standalone 5G network. And then we discovered that in India, the real monetization opportunity for 5G is in taking the home broadband on 5G and taking it pan-India simultaneously. So I think that has been a very, very defining change in India. Today, we are adding, multiple X of the subscribers that we add on a fiber-based home broadband compared with the 5G-based home broadband. And on a 5G-based home broadband, we are able to give a equal to home fiber broadband or a higher experience. Just to give you a few examples, for us, a home which is connected on fiber broadband consumes around 300, 400 GB a month as against a 24 GB a month of a consumer. And on 5G based home fiber broadband, we are seeing this exceeding, right, the fiber based home broadband consumption, which means we are able to give a much superior experience in terms of the OTT plays on a 4K and 8K format instead of a SD or a HD or a USD format. You have a Wi-Fi 6 in the homes. You have all these smart gadgets connected and making it a smart home. So on the wave of the FWA, we are accelerating the broadband penetration into this country. Wherein lies a very large, where we are unlocking a very large monetization opportunity also. And mind you that this is not possible, or this will not be as effective for consumer experience if the network is running on a NSA mode. It is only possible, or it is much better, a proposition if the network is running on a standalone mode. So I think that's, one large difference. Now, the FWA rollout of Jio has already started a few months back, and we are seeing a significant ramp up, right? very shortly what is going to happen, this FWA equivalent connectivity for the businesses is going to go live, which means that every SMB factory, every shop, every retail store, every warehouse, every logistics hub, every bank, every college is going to be now enabled with a FWA equivalent connectivity for their business establishments. You couple that with SD-WAN rollout, you couple that with a cloud offering, you put a layer of AI/ML on top of it, and suddenly you have, the entire India progressing much faster on the digital transformation journey from where we are today. Where we are today, if I have to connect any business, any bank, any college, any hospital, the only way to connect is either take fiber to that premises or give a RF-based last mile, which is, in technical jargon, it is called a UBR connectivity, right? And the very typical consumption there is a 2 Mbps link or a 4 Mbps link. I mean, we are still living in a very, very primitive kind of a connectivity age. But suddenly, when you have 5G all over India, and you start using that 5G as a last mile to connect the businesses and offer them, 100 Mbps, 200 Mbps, 1 Gbps kind of speeds, and you put a business layer envelope on top of it, business applications start running. That's where you will certainly see, explosion of that connectivity and resultantly the revenue also. So far, I'm still talking about, a SIM-based connectivity, which is serving either a home or an individual with his mobile phone or a business establishment for whatever LAN or the Wi-Fi that they are running in their premises. You add to it the other components which are SA-based 5G network gives, which is the private 5G network, which the other panel member has already spoken about. You talk about a network slice on 5G, and you talk about all other applications which come along with it. So we are at the cusp of a very large, digital transformation inflection point. One inflection point was 2016 when India went VoLTE, voice over LTE. We saw that how India then caught up with the world from a underdeveloped economy, developing economy. Suddenly, at least the IT infrastructure, the telco infrastructure started counting amongst the best in the world. We traveled that distance. And in 5G, I will say, while you will, Jaideep, you pointed out that we were 2-3 years late, but I think the kind of a rollout that we have seen in last 1.5 years, India today is one of the leading examples of 5G availability at the price points at which it's available, right? Because in India, a technology, unless and until it is made affordable, doesn't mean anything, neither for a business nor for a consumer. So in India, the 5G has to be at Indian price points, whether it's a private 5G network or as a network as a slice. And we can clearly see those green shoots where whether it is a mining, whether it's a healthcare, whether it's a agriculture, whether it's a drones as a service, whether it's a AR, VR, XR based applications. So I think clearly we are seeing the transformation happening very fast. Yes, if you see the percentage of incremental revenue which 5G is at contributing today, very less, minuscule. Fully agreed with you. But look at what FWA is doing to that ARPU addition or a incremental revenue addition. Look at when the FWA kind of a connectivity is made available to the businesses, to the small factories, to the every town and every village of India. How Government of India uses it for their healthcare initiatives, for their agriculture initiatives, for their M-governance initiatives. I think the big inflection point is very, very real and only some time away. That's what I would like to say, Jaideep.
Thank you. This is excellent, Sunil. This is really excellent and gives a view of not only from the perspective of Jio, but also what's happening and what's going to come at the country level. I must catch you separately. I didn't know that FWA on 5G is same as or better than the fiber. I didn't really know that. I always thought fiber was by naturally would be but I think we'll take it offline. Doctor,
Jaideep, just one small agreement. And I'm saying the way we have used the entire FWA-based offering on 5G and created an experience which is maybe ahead of a fiber-based home also. Otherwise, in a normal parlance, what you're saying is absolutely right. Fiber-based connectivity is considered to be the most gold-plated or the most premium. But the way we have packaged OTT, we have packaged other applications, we have created an experience for the home, which is running on a 5G platform. It's
absolutely. I mean, please go ahead. Yeah.
No, I think that's what I just want to add.
No, absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. And I think you kind of reiterated what I said at the beginning, that revenue right now is minuscule, that we all know. But this can be done by FWA. There's so many other things can be done. And FWA currently is being projected more, for home broadband usage, song, music, OTT. But there's so much to do for campuses, banks, general. May not be the largest of businesses, but at least for a reasonable size, contained business. That's fine. I think I'll come to Dr. Sidharth. Now, Sidharth, of course, while you're heading the new technologies, emerging technologies from Airtel, and I'll come back to it in a while. But let me take you back to your previous days where you were, with the regulatory of India, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So from a regulatory perspective, if you could throw some light on 5G, how has a lot of regulatory developments have happened, not at the broad scale, but from a 5G specific perspective, where you had been played a key role, where do you think the regulatory environment, the whatever developments has helped drive 5G, and is there something which still needs to be done in the near term to help industry grow from a regulatory perspective? So over to you.
Yeah. First of all, I thank you, the panel, to call me to speak on this topic, and I welcome all the attendees also who have an interest or a background in 5G. And as the background was given very rightfully to bring everybody at a level playing understanding. Now, before I get into the regulatory, I also wanted to add on what my Geo colleague had said. My understanding is that if we all know that 5G has 3 vertices: enhanced mobile broadband experience, low latency services, and IoT. In India, what has happened is we have only given one vertex of the triangle yet, and that also without charging any premium. If you see, we all graduated from 4G to 5G without realizing that our bills have not changed substantially. And the enhanced mobile broadband experience actually, you see, doesn't give you much difference in the fact that you're downloading the video faster or playing. Earlier from 4G, it was taking 2 seconds. Now it is taking some milliseconds. So visibly, the difference is not much. And that is why we say, what is the difference? But actually, the difference will come when we come to the other 2 vertices, which are the M2M and the low latency services. Now, my colleague had just said that FWA is a big thing. Now, if I say FWA is a big thing, in reality, yes, because it is replacing the copper or fiber which is coming to the home for the broadband segment. To answer his question further is that once we go to millimeter wave, we have done some POC, we really get data rates which are much higher than fiber, around 12 Gbps on one single link. So you can just imagine you have on the rooftop 1 millimeter wave CP of FWA, and you can give it to the entire homes, 1 Gbps each, which is equivalent to any fiber connection. But FWA is one part. It is just replacing the broadband experience. What is happening is the ecosystem is evolving. For the B2C customers, with the same price segment, I'm getting a better enhanced mobile broadband experience. But what we are going to see now is differentiated services. When I mean differentiated services, say we are all in a cricket stadium watching the IPL match, and we find that the data rates, we want to go live on Facebook, we want to go live on various social platforms, and we find that the data rates are not good enough to handle that video. So when I say differentiated services, it means that the B2C customers also, through slicing in my core, I am able to give them a differentiated service in an enhanced data rate in the air interface. Then the customer, B2C customer, the normal user, will understand what 5G feels like in a normal and what 4G feels like. So the various segments, like the gaming segment, if I can differentiate services to different classes of users, I can classify users, and then I can give a good quality of service. So that is how 5G is going to evolve. And finally, the private enterprise connections. We have so many companies whom we've given the POCs from Airtel, where Mahindra and Mahindra, TVS, they are using these 5G connections, private 5G connections, for detecting the quality of paint after manufacturing, or the quality of the structure through AI ML, and coming back in the again drawing board, or finding out which issues that they are having in the manufacturing industry. So we have such examples where 5G is being used in a different way, where not in a very traditional way, and these applications are increasing. So the revenue will come. Because of the Indian regulator, the cost of 5G has not been increased substantially, and you'll be happy to know that 95% of towns are covered in 5G today, either by Jio or Airtel. We both have been driving this 5G, this way, and actually our 5G is in India is the cheapest, and at a very good data rates compared to global, conditions. Coming to regulatory, if I say now, I was I had made the consultation paper for 5G because we had regulations only till 3G and just updated for 4G. The regulations we don't expect immediately on 5G network because the network is still expanding, it's still growing and maturing. Though we have given some KPIs which will ensure some service level agreements are taken care, and the KPIs and as per the quality of service requirements, these KPIs are given to the customers. But still, from regulatory body in India, we are giving the 5G operators time to mature and bring up services. As a final point, I'll say that even the low latency services are yet to come. FWA is one application. We've got these smart meters we already given to Adani as a POC, and we are doing thousands of installations where these smart meters automatically, you don't have to go physically to see the meter reading, and the smart meters automatically update the central control unit where the billing and other issues or the meter down or the connection issues are resolved. So these applications, when 3G came in, the applications came in much later, like telebooking, or with the 4G, the application started maturing with time. 5G has just been launched, and you are just experiencing the enhanced mobile broadband experience. The low latency, the M2M, the IoT, these are huge fields. And effectively, when the IoT brings in, it is integrated. 5G is giving the connecting media for the AI engines. If it is not, it's a central computing. IoT connected through 5G is actually is going to change the ecosystem for smart highways, for smart cars. So what I see is we have just begun the journey of 5G. So all these questions, when they come, that we don't feel the difference in 5G. Yes, in enhanced mobile broadband, you don't feel the difference much when you're in urban areas. But with differentiated services, with FWA, with sliced services, with private, deployments, IoT is coming in a very big way. This is where you find that really 5G applications will come in, and you'll find, yes, we have seen the way we live every day will change with these applications coming. That is what I wanted to say.
Well, thank you so much. You gave a good overview in terms of the differentiated experience. These are early days, which we all of us agree, and I think the participants also will agree. Just a reminder to the participants, if you have any questions, please do put it in the the chat window as was mentioned earlier, so that one can take it up later on. Coming back to you, I mean, the IoT has been your area, Sunil, for a very long time in your previous stint. Where do you think you gave some examples, of course, of automotive industry, but even if I stick to manufacturing area, or if you want to widen that, where do you do even other things like whether it is smart cities, utilities, etc. Where do you think India's picture is, given your experience globally and in India, and what are things which will help enhance the use of IoT? And as was mentioned, we are only experiencing enhanced mobile broadband, but what about low latency, the URLLC, and the massive machine type of communication, the low power sensors, on top of every, water tank and pipeline and this and that, and also within premises of, manufacturing or airport, seaport, etc. The myriad uses of IoT. So where do you think, how do you think current and the future is likely to be in the Indian scenario, and any obstacles? Let's keep it short, but overall, this is what I'm trying to understand. All of us are trying to understand, given your experience. Over to you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. So Jaideep, yeah, so I was heading the IoT business for AT&T since 2017. I left them a couple of years back. What I've clearly seen is a couple of big barriers that were always there when it came to adoption of IoT in India. One being the cost of the IoT device. That cost has come down significantly. And thanks to the PLI scheme, which identified 14 sectors, telecom hardware is one of that. Hopefully, we'll see IoT device cost coming down even further. Once we have these chips, fabs built in India, cost of chips will also come down. So IoT hardware is always going to be a big barrier. Any IoT solution, 30 to 40% of the cost is hardware. Second is cybersecurity is always a challenge. And with 5G, you have, which always follows security by design principles. So when you actually combine 5G and IoT together, that's a very lethal combination, Jaideep. And the fact that you want to monetize the data, you want to get insights from all the data. And we have also seen adoption of analytics and AI also slowly increase, not to the pace that we would expect, and cloud adoption increasing. When you add all these elements together and powered by 5G, I think the value that an enterprise can get is going to be humongous, right? And IoT is always going to be the fundamental layer based on which an enterprise would start building all the other additional layers, right? So IoT adoption is picking up in India, but not to the extent that we would expect, Jaideep. Hopefully, 5G would be one important driver for adoption of IoT to pick up. And talk about low latency, talk about high connection density, MMTC, massive machine-like communication, where connection density is very high. And in my view, 5G, IoT, and then you bring in the cloud, all together will probably drive a lot more adoption among manufacturing companies. I track the manufacturing sector very, very closely. A lot more adoption within manufacturing, because in various areas that the manufacturing companies can look at it, within the factory, supply chain, quality, connected products, right? Other pockets where we probably see IoT and 5G being used, as I was talked about earlier, in metering applications, utilities, that's where, and even large ports, hospitals. But in my view, I think what will really drive growth of 5G along with IoT and all adjacent technologies is manufacturing. And even today, Jaideep, if you just look at 5G use cases, or if you just look at pilots which are happening in India, most of them are in manufacturing. I mean, I just want to give the example of Sunil. I was talking to the CIO a couple of weeks back. They've deployed a private 5G within their factory in Chennai. They're testing out, in fact, it's pilot, it is now in production for a quality-related use case, surveillance use case, machine data acquisition. Soon they're going to use 5G to remotely monitor their autonomous mobile robots. We heard of Mahindra testing out 5G in the Chakan plant for a quality-related use case, and also for software flashing of vehicles. We heard of Bosch setting up a private 5G network within the factory in Bangalore. Bharti is trying some pilots. So what we're seeing today is a lot of the manufacturers are experimenting with 5G, along with trying to take IoT sensorization at scale. And in my view, I think the future growth would mostly come from that industry, Jaideep. That's my view, because I track this sector very, very closely. And other industries will, the use cases are very limited, in my view, for other industries. But manufacturing, yes, I see a lot more use cases. And if the service provider are able to really articulate that value and really trying to target a specific solution, connectivity is just one part of it. And the service provider is trying to just sell connectivity to the manufacturer, it might be a challenge. But you are able to really understand the needs of the customer, understand the domain, able to come up with very good ROI tools that will really deliver value, and make sure that you are orchestrating that whole ecosystem. Because if you're able to position yourself as someone who's giving an end-to-end solution and work with all the other ecosystem players, including the startups, because there are 5G startups who are also working in the space, I think the service providers I think from a monetization perspective, enterprise would be that, inflection point for them, Jaideep, maybe.
This is very good. I made a lot of notes. So we are seeing not only connectivity, but it's a solution approach, which is what it is. And I liked what you said, powered by 5G, as in powered by 5G, but it's not only higher speed, because nobody is interested to only take higher speed and pay a premium for that. Salil, that some of the points I had, you've already covered in your excellent opening remarks, Salil, but this solutioning, packaging, that's what I would have come back to you on. Because one is connectivity, which we all agree that just merely higher speed, I'm not paying more, you're not paying more, nobody is paying a premium to just get a higher speed. That's fine. So from an enterprise segment, any segment within any industry, how do you think, and of course, you are in a vantage position if I look at Jio, because a lot of things are in-house, not necessarily under the officially Jio banner, but in the group banner, a lot of content, many other, which we all are aware of, in terms of the different verticals that the group has. How important it is for enterprise customers, business customers, or even government, that they are looking at 5G just a means to kind of do something, create the value and the outcome. And what are your, you want to share with all of us here and the wider audience, that from a partnering, packaging, solution approach, what all does Indian digital service providers need to do more than what they're doing right now? Over to you, please.
Yeah. So Jaideep, if you look at any business on the industrial IoT side or any B2B, B2C business, so if you were to cut it down into 4 or 5 parts, what it is. One is the end device on the ground. In case of consumers, it's a mobile phone, it's a tab, it's a laptop, a desktop, etc., etc. On the industrial side, there are machines. There are machines which need to be connected. There are the other parts, the other sensors, which need to be connected. So the device ecosystem has to evolve, to be 5G capable at the price points which India can afford. Right. So that's very, very key component. See, you can have technology, you can have all the jing bang, but if it is not at the price point which is acceptable to Indian business, to the Indian consumers, nothing will take off. Right. So that's one part. Then comes the network layer. Network layer is already done. Most of the India is covered. We can see millions of consumers on it. Beyond network, then there has to be the edge data centers or the cloud infrastructure, right, on which the entire data has to travel. On top of that, then you have all the applications or the SaaS players which will come on and bind it all together in a business outcome. And then the massive data which is being generated, the massive information boom which is getting generated, that has to be processed through a AI/ML engine and to give the desired business outcomes. So unless until all these 4 or 5 components come together, there is not going to be business outcome just by having a network layer which has become 5G. So at Jio, we are attempting a very end-to-end holistic offering to the enterprises or the businesses, that whether you need devices, we are investing into creating those sensor devices in-house, Make in India approach. A network we have already rolled out. We have our own, cloud offerings. We have invested into so many startups which are, whether it is a drone, whether it's a AR, VR, XR, whether it's a healthcare, there's so many other dimensions that we are trying to bind it all together and bind it together by a 5G network layer or a 5G plus IoT plus Wi-Fi 6 network layer to deliver the business outcomes. So that's what we are attempting to do. And obviously Jio alone also cannot do it. There has to be, so many stakeholders which have to come together. The system integrators, the consultants, the implementation partners, the SaaS companies. So the entire ecosystem has to come together to move the needle, to deliver the business outcomes, which can convert into a revenue and which can convert into either on the customer side, higher revenue, incremental revenue, lowering the cost of production, lowering the wastages, enhancing customer experience, enhancing employee experience. So everything, when it is bound together, only then the businesses will see the benefit of 5G based digital transformation. And yes, massive machine-to-machine communication is a very important vertex for the entire 5G ecosystem. But sadly, in India, the 5G based IoT is still far, far away. The Indian ecosystem, many people talk about the large smart metering, smart utilities, those kind of use cases, but those are 80-90% is still in the 2G era. 4G is just now happening. And IoT is happening in a wideband IoT, which happens on 4G. It happens on a narrowband IoT, which is NB-IoT. The ecosystem is still evolving to be all-pervasive, all-available at the price points which is acceptable to Indian consumers, Indian industries, in the IoT with a 4G or IoT with the NB-IoT. 5G based IoT, yes, it's very, very powerful. That's what this network is meant to be. That's what this network is designed to be. But whether we'll see a 5G plus IoT combination resulting into some meaningful business outcomes, I think that's still some time away. First, we will see the consumer-based, consumer experience-based revenue monetizations, the FWA-based monetization, the FWA when it goes to the businesses, that monetization, and the other, private 5G rollout or the network slice, separate network slice rollout. Those are the kind of things which will come earlier, in my estimate.
Thank you so much. You've again comprehensively painted the picture. Meanwhile, I saw there were a couple of questions, one of which has been by and large addressed in terms of what are the challenges and why is Indian industry not, so much adopting 5G. As we all said, it's not only 5G, it has to be powered by 5G, borrowing from what Sunil said, and packaging it with other speakers, Salil just now mentioned, with various other things, and what's happening. There was another question, but I think we'll take the questions later on. I think just before conclusion, I'll come back to you, Dr. Sidharth. Given you're handling emerging technologies, quick snapshot of what is after 5G. 5G, we've understood it's long way, early days, definitely. But as I started by saying, 16, say 2030 or something, by and large, crystal gazing. Today is only 2024 midway. What else can we expect? Just the headlines, not getting into any depth. We are anyway a little bit on time management has been little, but I think it's a good discussion. All of us, the participants, are having a, good learning from all of you. Over to you, Sidharth.
Okay, thank you. I'll just tell you a few more things from Airtel. What we have done, we have taken a few steps ahead of our competitor in terms of IoT. The Adani smart meters are running on NB-IoT, which is presently working on the 4G core, but graduating to a 5G, system is not a big effort. You'll be surprised there are thousands of meters running. Secondly, the use cases which were told about, Bosch and Mahindra and Mahindra, these are provided by the Airtel network presently, and we are having a very good experience with the AI software at their end use with our 5G network. Now, so I feel that IoT in India has already come. Maybe it's not visible and it will be popular very soon. Second point, what I wanted to tell you is that what is coming next? 6G is sometime now. 6G will take time because the standards are still evolving. With 5G, we try to make a push that we should get our standard for India, but the deployment was pushed in by the government and we got in the normal 3GPP 5G standards. But I feel that 6G, before it comes, 6G, Indian, standardization will try and affect it to a certain extent. Time will tell whether we get 6GI or 6G. But before 6G comes in, what a new kid on the block is NTN. So that is what is non-terrestrial networks for the people who do not understand. So what is going to happen is the satellite world is working, and you've got Starlink and other players, OneWeb. Just for your information, Airtel is in partnership with OneWeb, and we are giving satellite broadband through the OneWeb network. So satellite broadband is already in place and it's doing well. Basically, it is reaching the internet to places where the terrestrial is not there. But what is coming in is NTN, wherein the cellular world and the satellite world are mixing. So what is happening is you are in a place where there is no terrestrial network. With your handset, your existing handset, you can communicate to the satellite, and through the gateway in the other end, you're getting connected to this terrestrial network. The other way is even the IoT. There are two use cases of NTN. One is the IoT NTN, wherein the IoT, say ships, maritime, wherever you can't have terrestrial communication in mountains, through the satellite, the low data rate, services will be running on NTN on the satellite network, and then graduating to a user in the terrestrial network. So the bridging is there. The second use case is very interesting, that the base station, the NIB, network in a box, is placed on the satellite, on the LEO satellites, the existing LEO satellites, and modified for the M2M. So you say device to device, and through your existing iPhone 15 or similar Android products, you can communicate to the other device through the satellite LEO systems. Hence, the way you communicate is going to change, and both the worlds, the satellite as well as the terrestrial worlds, are mixing. And hence, the extension of 5G services are going to places where the coverage, or there is a green field, say ships or some forest areas. So because satellite has a very big coverage. So this infrastructure of already internet broadband connection or satellite broadband connection will be used for this NTN. And the cellular infrastructure and the satellite infrastructure will, integrated together. That is what the new thing you'll see before 6G comes in. So this is just a feel of what at times come.
Well, absolutely.
That is what mine.
It's just an absolutely good NTN, the non-terrestrial and satellite, which I did mention, but then there's a lot of clarity needed on a few things before gets launched. But NTN definitely is, as you said, a glimpse or
just for your, I just wanted to is interjecting in this. Already the field trials by Starlink, there are 6 satellites. Already the POCs have been done. They have transferred data in the IoT concept. There are some trials. So it is not very far when we have this integration and we have these device-to-device communication over satellite and to the gateway to the terrestrial network. That is my...
Absolutely. Absolutely good inputs in terms of what's going to come, not after 5-6 years, but much earlier. I think by and large, the questions have been answered, except there was one question which we'll probably take at the end. It's a bit question which all of us can philosophize. I'll mention the questions, all of you can apply your mind, and then we go back to Shubhendu, editor of Voice and Data, is that, how can small businesses compete with large enterprises using 5G as a tool? That's a question which has been posed. I'm not requesting the answer right now. You can apply your mind. So with this, we come to the end. We have definitely exceeded time, but I kind of didn't interrupt here much because the discussions were pretty encouraging. I learned a lot. I'll hand it over to Shubhendu to take forward the session and for next speaker, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaideep. Thank you, Salil, Sidharth, Sunil, for such a meaningful discussion. And as Jaideep mentioned, it was quite insightful. And though even I have some questions, I'll hold it back for the after the presentation by Mr. Pekka Rantala. So I'll also request the audience to hold back their questions, but keep sending them on the chat so that we can compile it. And as we know, Mr. Rantala has been driving the 6G bridge initiative with the Finland, and like Rome was not built in a day, technologies also take time to build, which was also mentioned in the previous panel chat discussion. So I'll request Mr. Rantala to share his insight on how the landscape beyond 5G, which is the core theme here, is shaping up and how we are moving towards 6G. So over to you, Pekka.
Thank you. I'm going to share my slides. Could you confirm that you can hear me and see my slide?
Yeah, we can hear you. Your slide is on. We can see.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm really honored to be invited in the seminar. And during this presentation, I will quickly cover a few aspects of real-time economy and how that's kind of tied to wireless and AI. And As you know, my name is Pekka Rantala. I'm heading a national program which is called 6G Bridge at Business Finland. And this 6G Bridge program is focusing on 5G Advanced and the forthcoming 6G. So let me share a couple of slides what my employer, Business Finland, is all about. So you have to remember three things. So we are providing funding for the innovation ecosystems. We are supporting exports and business ecosystems. And thirdly, we are attracting investments and talents to Finland. So these are the top three tasks of ours, and the Business Finland is operating under the umbrella of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment here in Finland. So a little bit of ourselves, so what comes to funding. So as you can see, last year we funded about 4,500 projects worth a little bit north of 700 million. And as you can see that kind of where the money is flowing into, so we kind of quite evenly distributed. We are quite evenly distributing funding for startups, SMEs, large companies, research, and in addition to other business related funding. So here you can find some key figures from last year. So let's come to the topic of this webinar. So I must say that I'm a nerd, but technology is not important as such. So we have to think about how we can utilize that technology. So let's imagine a smart city of tomorrow when real-time vehicle to everything, vehicle to vehicle, or vehicle to infrastructure is enabled and in place, and where industry automation, whether it's smart agriculture or healthcare, are brought to next level. I'll come to back that topic a little bit later, and how we can enhance the energy efficiency overall in cities, in societies, in industry verticals, and for example, and how we can increase public safety with this fancy technology. And as you know, the 5G and forthcoming 6G will provide the platform for communications, computing, and sensing. And by sensing, I mean positioning, navigation, and timing. And in the forthcoming 6G era, that sensing capability is brought to next level, because with the help of new spectrum, the mobile network will act as a radar, and it will open up new business opportunities. So Finland started publicly funded 6G research already in 2018. And as you know, different industry verticals, they need different kind of KPIs or features or capabilities of the network. We have kind of briefly covered this network slicing, but here's one. It's not kind of a Business Finland official, but anyway, so one kind of astute estimate what kind of KPIs are related to different verticals in the context of this ultra-massive connectivity and universal coverage. But let's not spend more time to this slide, but it gives you an idea of the kind of capabilities of the forthcoming network revolution. So in a kind of a broader way, why this 5G Advanced, and the forthcoming 6G is so decisive, and what comes to this future, at least the coverage is maybe the most obvious one, as previously one of the panelists said, because the satellite communications already during the 5G Advanced era, it will increase the amount of internet users by 60% maybe within 10 to 15 years from now. And as you may know, that currently there are 1.4 billion people which are unbanked, without bank account, and nearly 900 million people without official ID. So it will enable vast amount of kind of capabilities for the whole society what comes to upskilling, public healthcare, empowerment, and so forth. And secondly, I want to point out this sustainability. So what comes to the energy efficiency, what the network is capable of in 6G, that will be maybe around 20 to 100 times better than 5G. So that is one side of the same coin, and the other side of the same coin is how the end customers, whether they are cities or manufacturing companies, for example, how they are utilizing that technology in order to them to reach their own sustainable development goals. So the technology is the tool to for others as well. And thirdly, I want to point out three worlds. So there will be this physical one combined with the digital one, and the kind of human-like metaverse enriched world, which, for example, will enable holographic 3D experiences in next decade or so. But it's a kind of a macro scale what the technology can bring us. And in order to achieve those ambitious goals, so if I have to put in one slide that has to be kind of solved together, there will be 3 A's, from AI to augmented reality, and 3 C's all together with the new regulation, spectrum sharing and licensing, and of course standardization of the mobile the technologies. So this is kind of a short list what at least has to be agreed on globally. So what comes to these end customers, for example, what happens at the factory floor? So I want to kind of emphasize the kind of the ambition within end customers to increase their own level of automation. So I'm talking about how to reach towards real-time economy. So this is not the kind of exact journey of the end customer, but there are features that what the end customer could take advantage of. And I want to clarify a few things. This zero X concepts, I mean that it refers to how the, for example, manufacturing company could reach a level where zero defects will happen, zero breakdowns of the facilities, or zero waste. It's one example how the end customer can engage with the technology. And by Re-X concepts, I mean what the end customer can do, what comes to recycling, redeploying, refurbishing, reusing, remanufacturing, and so forth. So there's kind of the ambition level, how to increase the level of automation towards real-time economy. And then there are few elements, what kind of tools the end customer could be engaged with. And of course, as a platform, there will be this connectivity, the network layer, in order at the end to reach the business needs, what the end customers is actually looking for. How to increase revenues, how to decrease costs, and how to reach towards their own sustainable development goals. So I want to briefly highlight some kind of touch points. So this is a slide, what happens currently in Finland. So we have 6G flagship is a project already started in 2018, focusing on the basic research. In the middle, 6G Finland is a coalition of Finnish R&D organizations, including these technology providers, and 6G Bridge is a program which I'm heading at Business Finland. We are not competing against each other, we are complementing each other. So this is a very busy slide I'm going to share with you. So this is a glimpse of our 6G Bridge program portfolio. I'm very sorry, it's kind of a complicated one, but I have tried to do my best in order to condense all the 35-40 projects into one slide. What kind of research-focused activities we have currently in our portfolio. But you can have this material later on. So let's kind of push forward. And these are, if I have to condense what we are as a Finland looking for, these are the top areas of interest, how we want to engage, for example, with India. And as a tool for that purpose, there's a few YouTube links, videos, and you can download and take a look at our strategic research and innovation agenda, have a look and actually take free of charge as a kind of open online course, which is called Core 5G and Beyond. A few links, how the Finnish industry and the 6G bridge ecosystem is what we are doing, and not to forget about the Work in Finland functions, what we have in at Business Finland, so you can have a look there. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rantala, for sharing an insight on how the landscape beyond 5G is shaping up and the kind of research work that you're doing at in Business Finland. And we have certain questions, and let me see. Jaideep had shared a question, right? Would anybody like to answer that? We can start off from there. It was about how
5G for SMBs, right?
Yeah, how can small and medium-sized enterprises leverage 5G to compete with larger corporations or to become more competitive?
Yeah, so 5G, I think, so Shubhendu, my honest view right now is that at this point in time, 5G will be an overkill for SMBs. I don't see too many use cases. Could be any industrial manufacturing, could be logistics, could be retail. At this point in time, given the cost, I don't see, I see 5G being an overkill for SMBs right now. Maybe a fixed wireless access would be a good option for them to have a good, superior experience on internet. But otherwise, if you're looking at normal operations, trying to use 5G now, I don't think it makes sense for them at this point in time, given the constraints they have in terms of cost and all that skills. So it might be an overkill right now at this point in time, especially for SMBs in India.
Sure.
Any
difference of opinion? Sidharth?
Yeah. So I would like to add. You see, if you want to see 5G as a standalone component, which can mean anything for any company, whether it is SMB or a large organization. Yes, 5G is only a enabling part. The ultimate aim of every organization is to be digitally transformed. If you can digitally transform your business, then you can compete with the larger organizations, with the leading organizations in your cohort, in your industry vertical. The digital transformation is consists of not only the network layer, which is 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi 6 or whatever, but it is complemented by the device ecosystem, the platforms, the SaaS companies, the SaaS layers which it comes with. So I think if the SMBs start asking a question that how I can be as effective and for my end users, If you are a B2C company, then for my consumers. If you are a B2B organization, then for my end organizations. How can I leverage technology to digitally transform my business, in which 5G can play a part? Then yes, then the answer is yes. But if you're talking of whether a SMB will adopt a private 5G, they will deploy a private 5G network, they will deploy a network slice of 5G, then the answer is no. But if the question in your mind is how can SMBs compete with the large and more established names in the world in their respective field of business, then yes, if you think end-to-end digital transformation, then there are many ways, and 5G can be one of the components in that.
Agreed. Understood.
I
Sidharth?
just wanted to give my input. See, the first question and the second question are related because he says, what is holding back the businesses from adopting 5G? So I will like to answer this first because I gave you 3 examples: Mahindra & Mahindra, Bosch, TVS. All 3 have taken private 5G from us, and they are doing this Industry 4.0 to a certain extent. Now, what happens is when the ecosystem, they realize that they are benefiting from this, automation and using 5G as a network, it passes on, and then slowly people start adopting. Initially, the few adopters face some reluctance, or they just want to see. And once it happens smoothly, then the business takeover it graduates. The penetration will happen, and I see the penetration very soon. The second question for SMEs, the budget, the capital in hand for SMEs is on a lower level. So it depends. If he is able to improve his business by getting a private 5G connection, he may. Otherwise, he's better off with his traditional mechanism or processes. But yes, the bigger businesses, surely they will graduate to 5G enterprise connections with automation and Industry 4.0, which I already mentioned in my earlier thing. So that is my input on this.
Thank you, Sidharth. Pekka, would you like to add from your experience in Finland? Though the SMB's definition vary from India and the other rest of the world. So yeah, but would you still like to add something?
No, not kind of specific. I just put one kind of hint to this chat box, but regarding the communications at the factory floor, for example, and the level of automation there. So I would kind of coach and challenge the end customer to increase the level of automation and what kind of tools and means that company or organization will need. Because if you have a kind of for example, fully functional wireless platform at the factory floor, you are able to bring a new industrial IoT or sensing or some other capabilities to enhance your, for example, efficiency or enhance the productivity. But there's a kind of a few takeaways from my side. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have just want to take a crack at question 1, just a short couple of points which I want to make, Shubhendu.
Yeah.
Question 1. See, one is, if you look at the larger enterprises, I think the question was, so what is holding them back? I think one factor being that you have to look at both the brownfield as well as greenfield. For any larger enterprise, again, I want to give manufacturing example. When they want to set up something greenfield, new plant, they're trying to build something with 5G, completely 5G enabled factory. It's far more easier. If you just look at brownfield implementations, a lot of legacy infrastructure. So from an enterprise readiness perspective, there are challenges. Trying to upgrade all the legacy infrastructure to support the higher bandwidth of 5G would cost a lot for them. So that is one potential barrier, I would see, Shubhendu. And that could be one factor. And plus, of course, I think we have to see cost of the overall, the whole infrastructure coming down. Because when I was doing an assessment, even if you're looking at private 5G, more than 50% of the cost for private 5G is because of hardware. So unless operators are able to innovate around the model by offering the whole thing as a service, an OpEx-based model, where it's only no high capex involved, then maybe we might see an uptick, and there might be some enterprise are willing to look at that. But at the end of the day, it's value, Shubhendu, value that they get from a 5G investment. And if they're able to achieve a faster ROI, and if they're clearly having those KPIs that are laid out, and time frame by which they want to achieve that, if they're able to see that value, then there's no reason why they shouldn't really adopt 5G, Shubhendu.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's hope the service providers take the lead and bring the price points down as they have always done. Particularly, we have the two leaders here. So we look forward to, we have already overshot the time by 30 minutes. Just one last question I would like to take. So are there any security concerns associated with 5G and how they can be mitigated? Because that's a very important question. And could anybody like to take it up?
Yeah. So as a technology stack, 5G has inbuilt, security features. So I think there is nothing to worry. But yes, the data which will be generated by a 5G ecosystem is far, far larger, than what was getting generated in a 4G era or a 2G, 3G era. And the regulations of the country are also evolving. Earlier, we only had a GDPR, which was, more from the MNCs. Now the DPDP will come in India, and that will put certain onus for handling the consumer data or the data in the organization. So obviously, the entire ecosystem has to evolve. The service provider have to, build those kind of work processes to comply to the Indian regulations around security and around personal data. And so that's a continuous journey ahead. So security as a feature is inbuilt into the 5G network, 5G technology stack. So there's nothing to worry there. But the Indian regulations which will come under DPDP, how the service providers, how the intermediary companies, how they evolve to cater to those provisions under DPDP, that is something which everybody will have to work towards.
Thanks.
Okay, I just want to chip in one fact. When we talk of security, that there are two types of security. One is a network security, one is a cyber security. So as far as the telecom operators are concerned, our network security is in place and we have nothing to worry. But the question is, what about the cyber security? Any device which is like a phone is like a laptop. You're giving him an internet connection. Hence, he is prone to attacks. It is vulnerable. Hence, what has to come to the environment is that, like what we have done for our, desktops and laptops, we put in our antiviruses and our, firewalls. In the same way, we need to graduate to this mentality that we need to protect our devices, because every application may have some security, but the network is providing a secured environment, but your endpoint is also a laptop, which has the capability much better than the earlier laptops. So what I just want to say this, that we should also take care of this device in the cyber domain and ensure that these antiviruses, which are easily available, should be put in so that there is some level of protection in the user. And that goes with every deployment of 5G. The end device, if it is a processing device, has to also be cyber protected in terms of antiviruses and such software. Thank you.
Very valid point. And indeed, we have to look at it from the device and user device angle, definitely. And we have to create an awareness as well. So with this, I would like to end the session, except I'd request Jaideep to kind of say the last word. He has been very patiently handling the entire session and more than me. And so the last word from you, Jaideep.
I think you might accept that, these are early days for 5G. And as many of us have said in response to one of the questions, that 5G is one tool in the entire box, and that needs to be deployed. And of course, we'll see. And the security issues have also been mentioned, that will lead to, I think, quantum communications kind of discussion, not a topic for today. But overall, I think if just as an individual, I think this was a useful session. We definitely need to in future, editor, sir, and others, we need to manage that time as in whoever is watching. But overall, good session. I hope the participants benefited and can be put to use some of the things that they picked up from all of us today. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaideep, and thank you all. Thank you, Salil, Sidharth, Sunil, Pekka, for making this such a wonderful discussion. And as I mentioned, every last Wednesday of the month, we'll be having this webinar, monthly webinar. The next webinar is on the enterprise AI revolution. Part of it was touched upon in this series, first of this series. And so thank you all. And please block your date for the next last Wednesday of June. And see you soon again. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.